All right, here we are. Let's see if this works again. Yep, I think it did. All right, three, two, one. They done left me to my own devices. I'm just home alone with, well, not home alone, home with my daughter. So I've been tasked with trying to keep us both alive, but I'm working on my discipline. And though I do not necessarily enjoy social media or what it's become, it's kind of a social media is kind of a window into how bad the world really is. You ever wonder where the good people are? Like, where are all the good, decent people? I know they're out there. If you're a good, decent person, reach out to me and just say, "Hey, I'm a good person." I don't care what platform it is. Right? Maybe we can link up and have a spritzer or something. All right. So no more courses. I don't do courses, but and I gotta. How long do I gotta go? I gotta go. I told myself I was going to do 30 minutes, and I waited till the last minute. So pardon the lack of enthusiasm. I'll stay on if there's any questions about any general real estate. I always answer the questions for free, and I'm sure there's some button somewhere that I'm not pushing. Right. So forgive me if there's no sound, there's any confusion on any of these platforms. But I had an interesting call today with. So my number's pretty public and it doesn't take a long time for people to find my cell phone number if they're looking for it because I'm in the real estate space. I've had the same number for years. And, when you're in the acting as a fiduciary in the real estate space, you want to be easily found. So I never changed my number, so I still keep it. We've got, 1-800 number for the Four Data Points Academy that gets forwarded to myself or some of the other folks internally. But so this gentleman called me and he graduated. He actually lives out here. He graduated from Stanford, and I didn't realize that it was because it was like this was just an hour ago. This was about an hour and a half ago, and it's 8:37 p.m. right now. I'm in California, and he started grilling me on what it is that I teach, and I don't know if he was surprised at the responses that he got, but I love those calls. I love to be grilled on everything because I've worked really hard to get to a certain level, and I love tough questions because that's the only time we really get to brag on ourselves, right? So this guy, he just goes on and on and on about how he's graduated from Stanford. And, I don't know. I still don't know after about 5 minutes into the call, I still don't know why he's calling because it doesn't sound like he understands what it is that I actually do. And I think my name somewhere is associated with courses. And I don't do real estate courses, right? I have a course that's fully automated. You guys never hear me talk about it because I don't think it's sufficient enough for somebody to be successful as a real estate investor just by taking a course, even if it's mine. And mine is like comprehensive, right? It cost me, about 15. Well, when you include everything, I was reaching about 20 grand. It cost me about 20 grand to put that course together. And I don't even know if you can take it right now. I'm having them take it down because I just don't think it's sufficient. So I want to talk about what's the difference between mentorship and actual courses. But this guy was just grilling me. And at this point, there's a certain line that you get to, like there's a, professionalism. But then some people, he was kind of getting out of pocket. He was borderline rude. And that's something that I'm working on, dealing with rude people that are rude for no apparent reason, right? I wasn't asking anything from him. I didn't reach out to him for anything. He had got my number from somewhere. And I think maybe he had a bad experience with another real estate course or something like that, right? Most of the people that find their way to me, they've already had bad experiences in other areas. So he, he said, I'm a Stanford grad. I really don't need anything extra. I got things pretty much set. I said, well, how much did it cost to go to Stanford? That's pretty impressive. He goes, well, it's $20,000 a quarter, right? So $20,000 a quarter. So let's call it 4 quarters, 80 grand a year. And that's at the graduate level. It gets more expensive when you're in the doctorate program or the master's program. And he goes, yeah. So and he recently graduated, so it was a young guy. And I had to extend him some grace because he hasn't really experienced the world yet. And I get it. You got to give some people a pass. But he said, I got with a Stanford degree. I'm pretty much set. I said, well, did you, where are you working now? He said, oh, I'm working out of it. He got an internship, a paid internship somewhere. I don't know, one of these tech companies out here. I said, all right, well, that's cool. He said, so I'm already good with numbers. I don't think real estate investing is the best way to go forward. He started talking about crypto and all these other things. So for a second, I was like, oh, this is James or Dimitri or some of the folks in our organization, maybe Tavares, some of the folks in our organization, they're playing me, right? It's, what that show where they, it's a joke. I'm thinking it's a joke. So he's lightweight roasting like what I do. And I said, well, did you know that because he didn't make six figures yet, but he made it a point to tell me that he will be making six figures shortly once his internship is over. I said, all right, well, let's look at those numbers. You paid $20,000 a quarter. That's 4 quarters. That's $80,000, right? What's that? 320,000 for 4 years, right? Pardon the math if I'm off. He said, yeah, but my parents helped me. Right. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, so I didn't take loans. I think he thought I was going to go in. I'm going to go in on him for student loans. I said, all right, well, do you know the average person, their first job at a Stanford is $98,000 a year? He said, well, there's no, facts to say that. I said, no. And I cited a source because while he was talking, I thought we was going to get into a roasting match. So I started Googling facts about Stanford. I said, did you know that the average person makes, $98,000 a year? And that's really, really good. Actually, that's a good salary. You're in the probably top 5% of the country with that. But you live in the Bay Area also where the cost of living, $70,000, $60,000 of that got to go to the cost of living. And by the way, that's pre-tax. And we started going back and forth, and I'm like, okay, it's I got to get off the phone with this guy, right? And so I ended up getting off the phone with him, and it was just a really, really weird conversation, and it made me. And I didn't get offended by the questions because I answered all his questions. I didn't get offended by the attitude. I didn't get offended by anything that he said until he said this one thing. And he said, well, that's a lot for a course. And that's when I got super offended. You wouldn't have known it because my demeanor didn't change. This is just internally. I got super offended thinking that a course, you think what I do is a course, huh? Okay. So let me explain some of the differences between mentorship and a course. A course is it can be helpful because you get knowledge. I don't think a course is sufficient for you to be a seasoned real estate investor, but you get the knowledge, so you're better off having taken a course than not having taken it. So I don't want to minimize that. Let me show you. I wrote down some of the things that I did today. This is just a random day, right? And I was just writing down how some of the issues that some of my I don't like the word students. We call it real estate family. So first, so I got a call. So somebody we had to there was an invalid mechanics lien that was put on one of my real estate family's properties. And so I had to teach them how to navigate that, right? I had to send them some statute and send them a step by step process of how to fight that, what to do, right? So I had to talk them through that. Then somebody called me with a real estate contract, which is easy. This was a contract with a contractor. All right. Now I teach folks in our real estate family how to do real estate contracts, and we spend some time on that. And then when they're actively doing it, then I'll look at it and make sure that they're not exposed in certain areas. And it's not just the contract; it's adding some balance because you can have a airtight contract and then you can't get anybody to sign it because it's too airtight. Like we go through that whole process. So I had to give them some verbiage for a contract that had a bartering component to it. So this was interesting because this is the second time I had to deal with, not had to, but I had the opportunity to deal with something like this. They had a contract with a contractor, and they were exchanging, money for labor and materials, but they were also trading services, and that had to be reflected into the contract, also. So I helped them navigate that and added some language into the contract to be able to support what they were trying to do because that's unconventional. I also had to talk to my attorney to see what a tax attorney to see what the tax implications were on the bartering side, and then talk them through that also. Now these things that I'm naming, if you go to our website, none of this stuff is on our website. Like this is not, we have one goal, and that's to turn people into real estate investors. And sometimes it takes a lot of things that you just don't. They're not in a brochure, right? But these things have to be done to make sure that these folks are successful. And this is part of the learning process that takes place after we go through 7 or 8 weeks of going over the fundamentals of real estate investing. And this is also the reason why I say real estate after we do our live classes, the learning starts after that, the practical application of the stuff, and that's what people don't understand, right? So I helped a person fix a vacancy issue. So I had one of my students had a oh, I hate that word student. One of our real estate family had a property, multiple doors. It wasn't multifamily commercial, but it was still multiple doors, and they had a vacancy issue. So I walked them through that. The 4 Ps, right? Thank you to the multifamily commercial industry for that knowledge coming up. So we exercise the 4 Ps on that. By the way, that is person, promotion, product, price. So when you want to cure vacancy, you first address the person. Is the person managing it, doing what they're supposed to be doing, setting appointments and all those things? Promotion, is it being promoted to the right place? The product, is it show ready? Is it in good condition? Then price is something that we check, make sure we're not pricing ourselves out of the market. There you go, free lesson right there, TikTok. Make sure we're not pricing ourselves out of the market. We never touch price until we've addressed all three, and there's a balance to it. And so we had to cure this vacancy issue. The last two people that I helped do this, they had those properties leased within 14 days. Let me see, what else did I do today? So we did a cost benefit analysis on new construction, 1 story and versus 2 story. So we basically looked at the cost to go 2 stories and see if it would generate the income to justify the additional costs. And so we call that a cost benefit analysis. I did evaluated the income potential on a 10 unit apartment building. Okay. So we did that today. And I actually negotiated with the the list, the agent responsible for getting it sold. I would say listing agent, but it was off market. It wasn't on the MLS. And shout out to that poor agent. You real estate agents that don't specialize in multifamily commercial, bless your hearts. And this poor guy, man, I took this guy to slaughter. And I'm not bragging. I really didn't. I actually, was really easy on this guy because he just wasn't ready he wasn't well versed in it. So I actually gave him some tips of how to present a little better in front of his client, so he didn't have to go back to his client after I just took him to slaughter. But that's something that had to be done. We also negotiated. So I negotiated the purchase price. This was in a rent controlled environment. And then, so my real estate family member, they were on the phone with me, but there's certain things that you can't just teach somebody and then tell them to go be great, right? Because I know they're not going to remember everything that I explained to them to prepare for this call. And if they're taking notes, what are they going to be reading their notes, trying to find that call can go any direction. So what I'll do is I'll just take the call on their behalf, and they'll just position me as their partner for the call. And then I'll just let them listen. And then I'll do that until they get comfortable enough. You don't do that in a course. That you do that when you are committed to making sure somebody becomes a seasoned real estate investor. So I took that call until and I'll continue to do that for this person until they can do it on their own. Right. I don't like to use the term hand holding, but I hold their hands. And what else do we do? Okay. So that was it. There were some other things, and I think I just started keeping track like halfway into the day. But we don't do courses over here, right? A course is a tool. That's one component of the learning process, but that is not what we do. All right. Now, when you are talking about mentorship, and I understand a lot of people don't know what questions to ask, and that's okay. And again, I love the tough questions. When I'm doing calls, I don't always take all the calls when people are interested. My good friend James Lewis takes a lot of these calls, and sometimes people don't know what questions to ask. So when I'm on the call, sometimes I have to pose questions as if I'm them, because they may not know to ask them, or they may not feel comfortable asking certain questions, right? Like one of the questions I'll pose to them is, how do I know you're not just going to run off? I pay you and your service sucks and you just run off with my money. Now, somebody asking that question would probably feel, rude saying that, but it's a valid concern. I mean, it should be. Look at the world that we live in, right? So I'll pose that question and then I'll answer the question for them. Right. That's probably why James doesn't like me on a lot of these calls because this is my baby. So I'll talk for 5 hours talking about all the things that we do. Right. But one of the questions that should be asked is, what does the journey look like when you are mentoring somebody? Okay. And I'll take it in phases. The first is that initial call, right? We always make sure that you meet people's expectations. People are enamored by the outcomes and they are misled via social media, TikTok and Instagram and all everybody glamorizes real estate investing. Everybody's trying to sell you something. I get it. So we have to manage people's expectations. I'll typically go over what a typical deal looks like when you're starting, what a typical deal looks like when you get a little more advanced, how to protect yourself, all of the things that we teach during the process, what it looks like to scale up asset class, going from single family homes, duplex, triplexes, fourplexes, and going up into multifamily commercial, and just basically am transparent with people about what that looks like. I also have experience in all of the things that we teach. So I share my experience because it's that experience that is going to assist in me supporting them in the real world stuff, right? And most of you guys know my experience, but I've been a real estate professional for over 20 years, for over 2 decades. I was in the multifamily commercial industry for the better part of 20 years, probably a little over 20 years. I am licensed in insurance. I'm not in the insurance business. I had a national notary signing agent company. I had a mortgage company that I ran with my father. We had a real estate brokerage. I'm a long-term hold investor. I took 585 bucks, created a company utilizing an outsourcing business model. That company, non-real estate related, went on to generate seven figures. I've generated seven figures multiple times. I didn't get to keep it all. By the way, seven figures is, you guys will soon understand if you don't already. That's a very small amount of money. So I just go over all my experience and let them know how that translates into the things that I teach. So that's typically our first call. And then when someone decides to move forward with us, then we have an onboarding call. And I'm thinking of just turning the whole onboarding into more of a video instead of a call, but we still do the onboarding call. And what that looks like is, well, the first thing we do is we talk about the schedule. We make sure that they have all the classes. We stress a few things. One of the things that I stress is if you ever have to miss a class because, there's a family thing going on, or, maybe one of your kids has a basketball game or football game or ballet or whatever it is, I tell them to prioritize family first. We'll be here when they're done. So if they miss a class, the classes just repeat, so they can always take it again. So we're really big on family and making sure that people focus on what's important and are not just chasing this carrot. Believe me, I've chased it for a long time. It is not like you think. So we have the onboarding call. We do the class schedule. We show them how to access all the tools. So we use Zoom to do our virtual classes, and we show them how to get into our portal, where to find lessons that they get assigned, how to ask questions. There's different levels of support. Some people are in a group setting, so we teach them, if you have an issue, this is what you do. If you need to reach me, this is what you do. If it's an emergency, this is what you do. Most of the people that have one-on-one support, well, all of the ones that have one-on-one support, they have my personal cell phone number. So if there's an issue, let's say it's 9 o'clock, it's almost 9 o'clock at night. Let's say somebody has an issue right now and their contract is getting ready to expire at midnight. Well, if you're taking a course or whatever program you're in, good luck calling somebody. They're not picking up. Right. But it may be detrimental to you if I don't pick up. So I say, look, if it's an emergency, reach out to me directly, and then we can sort it out later. I always keep one phone. I always keep a spare phone. I always keep a tablet and a laptop in the vicinity that I can always grab. Unless I'm in the air, then I'm not going to be able. I'll respond unless I'm in the air. And then if I don't respond, there's other people that they can call within our organization that can get them squared away. Okay. Now, after the onboarding, then they start to come to the classes, and we do the classes in the evening, 5 o'clock California time, 8 o'clock East Coast time. And what that looks like is we typically go an hour on one topic. I find that's as much as people can retain. If they have any questions about anything after we get through with the topic, then I'll go ahead and coach them through that. We do that multiple times a week. We do it Tuesdays and Wednesdays for residential, and then we do multifamily commercial on Thursdays. Now, again, this is not a course. This is just phase one of the learning process, the classes. And we teach everything. I teach all the investing strategies, right? So that's the phase that we bring that phase to completion once they complete all the classes. Now, if they missed any, the classes start again. When the classes start again, sometimes I'll switch them out. Sometimes I'll add new lessons in. We also have something called a Monday Roundup, and that's where we meet every Monday virtually, of course, just like this. And we go over new topics. I may have a guest come in. I've had appraisers come in. I've had contractors come in to provide clarification on some things. Sometimes I'll leave it open, and that'll be my time to say, okay, well, what are you guys struggling with? Is there anything that you heard that you want to learn about? We do that every week, right? And that's to make sure that there's nobody just getting left behind, right? Because again, our number one mission is to turn people into real estate investors. So if you're not learning and you're not telling me that you're not grasping the stuff, then I have no way of knowing. So the open time we have, I'll have a line of questioning. And if people can't answer certain questions, then we'll just break out into a quick workshop and say, all right, this is how this is how you do this, or this is how you pay out of your exit strategy, or this is how you incorporate seller financing, or this is how you run the 4 data points and assess a deal on a property. So we'll do that. And we do all this in perpetuity. So you can come back anytime. I don't care if you got to tap out for 7, 8, 9 months. You can just tap back in, and then there you go. Right? We start from square one. Now, once you get done with all of the pre-planned classes, should I pre-plan is probably not a good word. The scheduled classes, there's continuing education, right? Continued education. So once you've done those, there are times where I'll introduce a new lesson because the environment may change. And that's part of the commitment to turn people into real estate investors. If we have a course where you start it and then you just end it and then you're done, that I know for a fact that's not going to serve you. I'm not going to say that other people that offer courses don't know that, or whether they do know that or whatever. I'm not speaking on them, but I know what it takes to learn something. And trust me, I know that a course is not going to be sufficient. So after we go through the scheduled courses, now it's time for me to put myself in the person's position. And this is one of the distinctions between what we do and a lot of other people do. There's people that have some money and they need to know what to do with it. There's people that don't have money and they need to know what to do. They still need to have a plan. There's people that have great credit. They need to know how to apply it. There's people that have bad credit. They got to know how to hunt even with bad credit. So any possible situation that you can come up with, I have to put myself in your situation, and now we're going to navigate through it. So I got to give you a plan of action to be able to level up from your situation, whatever it is. Now, the more resources you have, the easier it is, right? I was talking about that kid from Stanford. For what he paid to go to Stanford, I could have made him a millionaire by the time he was a sophomore. But I'm sorry, that was a jab at dude. That was petty. I'm sorry, TikTok. All right. So you go to the classes after that, then it's the practical application of what you've learned. Now, this is where people mess up. Even in our program, this is where people mess up. They do these 7, 8 weeks of fundamentals, and then they just sit. And I asked them on purpose at the end, I go, do you guys feel like real estate investors? And they're like, "Yeah." People say, "Yeah," but they have that lack of enthusiasm. They're like, yeah, 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 we feel it." I was like, "Well, you shouldn't, because you're not. You're not seasoned at all, and you're not ready to go out there and just do it on your own." I know that. I plan for that. I'm 100% aware that it's going to take more than 7, 8 weeks, right? But the real world application is so valuable that I tell them, look, if you're going through these classes for 7, 8 weeks, I don't care if you're on week 2 and an opportunity presents itself. I think the learning from that opportunity is going to be more valuable than these classes. You can take these classes anytime, right? And by the way, I have 7, 8 weeks of fundamentals, but I could hold people behind a computer for over a year with lessons. The reason we don't focus on the information is because the information requires application. And I have some lessons that are more advanced that people aren't ready for in the beginning. So me teaching that in the beginning is going to be useless. But when they get more advanced, those lessons will be there waiting for them, right? When you start getting into private equity and joint ventures and all these other things, because people stay with me, they come in as beginners or intermediate, and then they stay with me as advanced. And then once they're seasoned, then we actually may start doing business together. And it's easier because we know each other already, right? We know, like, and trust each other. And if I can create 1,000 real estate investors to do that, we could take over the world, right? So it's not just a matter of weeks and then you're done and we get the next batch in. Everybody that came in with us what year ago, 2 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, they're still with me today. And some of them have, 10 doors, some of them have 20 doors, some of them are approaching 30 doors, some of them have gotten their businesses vertically integrated. And one of our real estate family bought a construction company and now they're doing their own, construction for their projects. So, it's so much more than a course. Now, you can see why I get offended when someone says, "Oh yeah, it's yeah, I heard you're doing course," or "I want to take your course," or "I took your course." You didn't take my course. It's not. It's this mentorship is a professional relationship, long term, and I put those things in writing. All right, which means I can't just tap out and give up on you unless you give up on yourself. So again, after the fundamentals, then they get out there and we start looking at, okay, now what are we going to do now? So you understand the basics. You don't have to memorize them all. You don't have to remember everything you taught you all right that you were taught. But now you're out here. What is the first step? So we have a 60-day action plan that we adopted from another company. I won't well, yeah, REI Pro, those folks. We adopted their 60-day action plan because there was some really useful stuff in there. And we see where they are. We look at their resources and say, okay, well, this is what I would do if I was you. And some people are a little shy about their situation because bad things happen, right? So if you say, well, I don't have any money, okay, this is what I would do if I didn't have any money. Oh, my credit is shot. Okay, well, this is what I would do as a real estate investor if my credit is shot, right? So then I may teach them how. Okay, this is how you get paid from putting a deal together with people like, and trust. And whatever the opportunities are, right? So it's a long-term relationship because I know they're going to go through things that you can't plan for. You can't teach, right? And well, you can if you want to teach everything, and I can have you sitting behind a Zoom screen for 4 years, like a regular college, but that's not going to do you. That's not going to do you much good. Some of the other things we do is we understand that the environment changes all of the time. For example, the Burr method. A lot of you guys, if you're a real estate investing enthusiast. Sorry, it's late. How much more time I got? I got a few minutes left. If you're a real estate investing enthusiast, you know that the Burr method is an investment strategy. It's been around for a while. I think the folks over at Bigger Pockets coined it the Burr method, but the Burr method is basically this, and I'm going to tie this into some of the things that happened in the economy that impacted this. The Burr method means you buy a property, you rehab it, you rent it out, you refinance it, and then you repeat. And when you refinance it, hopefully you've added enough value. So when you refinance it, that final mortgage is enough to pay off all the existing debt plus some tax-free money left over for you. All right, that's the Burr method. But the problem was when interest rates went up multiple times that year, the final mortgage, the cost of money was so high that the income that the asset produced wasn't enough to service the debt. So a lot of people were running into that. So I had to call everybody back. I didn't call everybody back. We do these Monday roundups and everybody's welcome to come. But one of the Monday roundups, I said, okay, this is what we're going to be talking about. The economy shifted. Anybody that took a Burr method course, you're dead in the water at this point. You're dead in the water. So I had to show folks, some of these folks hadn't been on for a year, but they all came back and they said, okay, well, this is what we're experiencing. This is why the Burr method is not working. I let them know that we've got lessons for that. right? And then I showed them how we need to pivot, what type of deals that they need to do, how to structure their deals, even though the interest rate is what it was. But if we were a an outfit where you start it and you end it, then after you end it, anything that happens is your problem, right? But the bad things happening is what turns people into seasoned real estate investors. So we have to be there through the educational phase, but we also have to be there to navigate people through the bad things. Right. And it's not a matter of will bad things happen, it's a matter of when. And in many cases, I've had to fly out to certain, projects across the country because some of my real estate family, they were going through some real tough rehabs, right? And they didn't pay me to fly out there. It was just, it was just taking care of your family. That's why we call it real estate family. So when you hear me say I don't do courses, I think courses are, okay, how do I articulate? I'm not saying they're trash because they serve a purpose. You get knowledge. I just don't do them. Okay. Let me see what else happened to me today. Oh, so another person called and they wanted to know how to do the, so if you go to our website, there's a consult fee, right? And if you get me on the phone and I just happen to be in the middle of doing nothing or working out or just whatever between sets or whatever, you get me on the phone and you just have a question, I'm not going to send you to my website to pay a consult fee. If it's a quick question, I'll just answer it, right? Most of the time, I don't answer my phone, but I'll just answer the question. And for 30 minutes, it's $350. If it's a multifamily commercial deal for an hour, it's $750. That's $750 for 1 hour. So this person called me and they had it was like a 5 unit or something, right? And this person, because you may recognize this in you and you may not, this person, in my personal opinion, was not ready to be getting into multifamily commercial investing. They also were not one of my real estate families. So I'm under no obligation to hold their hand through any process. So they asked, they actually wanted me to, they wanted to do the consult. And this is the only time that I think I've turned down a multifamily commercial consult. I told them, like, you can pay this $750, but I'm going to be transparent with you. You're not ready to be doing multifamily commercial. If you need to do a consult, you're not ready to be doing it. There's too many ways to lose money, right? Even when you know what you're doing. So I ended up telling them, I'll answer your questions. I'm not gonna charge you because I don't think it's gonna be you're gonna be effective. And I encourage them, just join our real estate family and I'll hold your hand through it. So, but they didn't understand the value of knowledge and mentorship. And then that's not, I don't try to convince people. If somebody didn't understand it already, it's not my job to try to convince them. All right. When you're ready, I'll be here. Right. Eventually, whatever program you go through, you'll find your way to me eventually. So those were that's why I say I'm not doing courses. We do mentorship. And I tell people, look, don't quit your job to just jump into real estate investing. They make it look glamorous on purpose because they're trying to sell you something. I do workshops all over the country. A lot of you guys have seen me, right? We go to Houston, we go to Dallas, we go to LA, we go to Long Beach, we go to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, DC, Charlotte, we hit Philadelphia, we go to Chicago, New York, Atlanta, and I put all these together myself. We keep the groups really, really small, probably about 30 to 40 people in a room because I got to make sure I can interact and actually know what I'm teaching. And I know what it costs to do that. And I know what it costs for some of these other outfits to rent out the places that they they rent out. I'm not laughing at anybody. I'm just saying I know what it is. So I can see behind the veil. Um, it's a business model. At the end of the day, it's a business. I think what separates us from a lot of other similar businesses is I don't chase money like that. I just don't. And a lot of you guys have seen me give away more money you know than the average person makes a year, right? I'm not bragging. I'm saying no, that's the only thing that brings me fulfillment. So if I'm not chasing money, our business model is going to lean towards things that bring me fulfillment. And creating opportunities for people brings me fulfillment. Giving people a voice that that wouldn't have a voice because capitalism, it's a country we live in. If you don't have any money, you don't have a voice. Right? I'm not going to argue that. If you disagree, then we agree to disagree. So creating opportunities for people that wouldn't have them, those things bring me fulfillment. You know, so that's just what it is. I wanted to make that clarification. I don't do courses. We do mentorship. And if you ask me, I think I'm the best at it. So what are you gonna do? All right. That's why I said I was gonna do 30 minutes. And I'm out. It's late for me. You know. Shout out to everybody that's not quite 50 yet, but way past 40. Shoot, 9 o'clock. You're like, oh man, you guys aren't tired? No, no, just me. No, no. All right. All right. As usual, you guys know how to find us. 4datapoints.com, the number 4DATAPOINTS. We're going to teach people how to assess a deal on the 22nd of March. And it's a free workshop. Go to our website. You can sign up for it. 4datapoints.com. Go to upcoming events and sign up for our workshop. I think we already got 50 people now, so I don't know how much longer I'm gonna keep it open. But yeah, if you're thinking about getting in real estate and you want to learn from somebody that's done it all, then it'd be a good workshop. I said I look tired. I can see myself on multiple screens. I look really tired. I'm about to tap out. 4datapoints.com, Washington, D.C. Here we come. July 26th, we will be in Washington, D.C. And that information is on our website. Also, you guys be safe. Peace, love, soul. For anybody old enough to understand that reference. And I am out. I am out. You know what I did last time? Some of y'all caught it too. I turned off some of these platforms, but I was still recording. I was still recording on StreamYard, and I'm so glad I wasn't doing this in my underwear. See, y'all don't see. But sometimes I'll be up here just like this. This is my workout clothes right now, but sometimes I'll be like this, black t-shirt, hat, and then I'll be in pajama pants. And I'll be like, all right, signing off. And then I think I closed one of them down, but StreamYard was still up, and StreamYard filters out to YouTube and all these other places. So I got a call, and somebody was like, "Hey man, you know we can still see you in your in your pants, your sweatpants, right?" And somebody roasted me too. They was like, "So you're not gonna put no lotion on you're not gonna put no lotion on your feet when you do these?" Anyway, they were funny. All right, let me end TikTok first. All right, TikTok. Now I got to really make sure everything is off because I got pants on today. But all right, Instagram.